Hello, I'm Chris Williams from Read Comics That Are Bad For You, the name of my YouTube channel. Or if you're watching this on BitChute, the name of my BitChute channel is Comic Freak. I have an update on the story that JJ claimed that Palpatine was always going to be in the final Disney Star Wars movie. Apparently, one of JJ's long-term working partners has apparently dropped the fact that Palpatine was never meant to be in the Disney Star Wars movies, and apparently when this story dropped a month ago, no one really noticed, but now that it's circulating, everyone's in a hubbub about it. I know we've gotten confirmation from other stories about the Palpatine inclusion in the Star Wars movies, but here's the smoking gun right here as we read this article. Director J J Abrams has been quite chatty of late about his upcoming Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. No, Abrams is still revealing any major details about the final installment in the epic Star Wars Skywalker saga. What he is opening up about is the return of actor Ian McDiarmid and his very important Star Wars character Senator Palpatine, aka the Sith Lord Darth Sidious. Palpatine's return has been known to fans since we first heard his menacing laugh in the first teaser, which debuted at the Star Wars Celebration event earlier this year. Since then, each trailer has added more and more Palpatine into the mix, with voiceovers playing heavily into the final trailer as well as recent TV spots. Now Abrams is opening up in an interview with Uproxx about when it was decided Palpatine would be back. When asked if his return was decided all the way back at the beginning of the new trilogy, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, Abrams began, well, when you look at this as 9 chapters of a story, perhaps the weirder thing would be if Palpatine didn't return. He elaborated, giving some insights with, you just look at what he talks about, who he is, how important he is, what the story is. Strangely, his absence entirely from the third trilogy would be conspicuous. It would be very weird, that's not to say there was a Bible and we knew what happens at every step, but when Harry Kasdan and I worked on The Force Awakens, we didn't do it in a vacuum. We very purposely looked at what came before. We chose to tell a story that touches upon specific things and themes and ideas that we've seen before to begin with a new story, but we examined all that came before to ask, where does this feel like it's going? You see JJ trying to step around this subject and say that Palpatine was going to be included from the start, but not say that was actually what it was going to be. Abrams continued shedding even more light, so there were discussions about that at the time, yet like any beginning you want to put the threads in, but you don't want to necessarily be literal about everything. And then when Ryan was brought on to do The Last Jedi, we met and we talked about things and he wrote his story. And when I read the script, I realized this didn't get in the way of anything Larry and I talked about that I thought I'd get to. There were some very specific things we did get to do in this movie that we were laughing and going, oh my God, we're finally doing that thing we talked about 5 years ago. The question remains, how exactly does Palpatine figure into Rise of Skywalker, despite Abrams explaining how the decision to include Palpatine came about? There's still no clue as to what form Palpatine will take in the movie or what influence he will have over the film's events. Since the Sith Lord was the big bad in both the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, he was Darth Vader's mentor, remember? It is understandable he'll return for the final go-around, but since he was killed at the hands of Darth Vader, Palpatine is at best a Force ghost, right? Maybe it seems like we'll just have to wait and see how it all shakes out. But you see, this is all utter bunk by JJ and spin, because when Ian McDiarmid did a recent interview, he basically said that one day JJ Abrams called him out of the blue and said to Ian McDiarmid, hey, we're going to bring Palpatine back. And Ian McDiarmid was beside himself and for a few moments had to compose himself, and he responded with, okay. And this is how Emperor Palpatine, Darth Sidious, returned to the Star Wars universe. Know that, folks. This is how this character, this incredibly important character, has been brought back into the movie trilogy. Just so that J J Abrams has a villain to throw at the Skywalkers. Because honestly, after Snoke was killed in The Last Jedi because Rian Johnson had to do something and, well, subvert our expectations. So JJ basically made a turn for the Rise of Skywalker and made everything worse by bringing back Emperor Palpatine. So remember this. This is most likely done to save the Rise of Skywalker because there was no villain for the final movie. I honestly have to think what Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson were thinking was they weren't thinking at all because they couldn't see beyond their own noses. Because this is a horrible thing to have had happen to the Star Wars movies. If you like this video, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed, and I mean that because YouTube is currently doing a subscriber purge and a ad revenue purge, so make sure you're still subscribed. If you're watching my videos but you have not subscribed, please subscribe to me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, read comics that are bad for you, then go over to BitChute and subscribe to my BitChute channel, Comic Freak. Hit that bell for notifications, hit that like button, and leave some comments down below. And if you could you please share this video? Share it on Twitter and share it on Facebook. Share it anywhere you think it would do the most good, because YouTube is not going around promoting their own YouTube creators anymore, and it would really help me if you could please share this video. Now listen closely. It's plug-in time again. Keep checking back in future videos for more information on my own upcoming independent comic book scumdogs. I'm Chris Williams, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video or review.